Nobody expected America's toughest TV judge to be silenced by the voice of God himself. Judge Judy Sheindlin's eyes blazed with her trademark fury as she prepared to destroy Morgan Freeman in front of 4 million viewers. Mr. Freeman, I don't care if you narrated March of the Penguins. In my courtroom, your movie star status means nothing, she declared with crushing authority. But when a legendary actor opened his mouth to respond, what happened next would leave Judge Judy speechless for the first time in 25 years. If you want to see how Hollywood's most respected voice exposed America's toughest TV judge's biggest weakness, watch this entire story and don't forget to subscribe for more shocking confrontations that the entertainment industry tried to bury. The Judge Judy courtroom set hummed with unusual tension that Thursday afternoon in September 2025. Judge Judy Sheindlin, at 82, had spent over 3 decades building an empire worth $440 million through her ability to psychologically demolish unprepared litigants on national television. Her show had become the highest-rated court program in television history, with millions of viewers tuning in daily to watch her destroy people with surgical precision and devastating verbal attacks that had made her one of the most feared personalities in entertainment. Born Judith Susan Blum in Brooklyn, Sheindlin had built her reputation through a combination of legal knowledge, street smarts, and an intimidating persona that could reduce grown adults to tears within minutes. Her courtroom style was a carefully crafted performance designed to entertain audiences while establishing her absolute authority over anyone who dared challenge her judgment or question her decisions. The Judge Judy phenomenon had transcended simple entertainment to become a cultural institution that influenced public perception of both the legal system and acceptable social behavior. Her catchphrases, facial expressions, and dismissive gestures had entered popular culture, while her ability to see through deception and manipulation had earned grudging respect even from critics who questioned her methods. But behind the judicial robes and television success, industry insiders whispered about a different Judge Judy. Former production staff and court officers, speaking anonymously to entertainment publications, described a woman whose intimidation tactics occasionally crossed ethical lines and whose need for dramatic television sometimes compromised fair treatment of guests who appeared before her. Morgan Freeman, at 87, represented everything Judge Judy claimed to respect about traditional American values and professional achievement. The Mississippi-born actor had built a legendary career spanning over 5 decades, earning Academy Awards, Golden Globes, and Screen Actors Guild Awards while becoming one of the most recognizable and trusted voices in entertainment history. Freeman's journey from poverty in rural Mississippi to Hollywood stardom embodied the American dream that Judge Judy often praised in her moral lectures to defendants. His roles in films like The Shawshank Redemption, Driving Miss Daisy, and $1 Million Baby had established him as one of cinema's most respected performers, while his distinctive voice had narrated countless documentaries and made him literally the voice of God in multiple films. What made Freeman particularly revered was his reputation for dignity, professionalism, and genuine wisdom that extended far beyond his acting abilities. Unlike many celebrities who courted controversy for attention, Freeman had maintained an image of thoughtful intelligence and moral authority that had earned respect across political and cultural divides. The case that would create an unprecedented confrontation between entertainment icons had begun 6 months earlier when Freeman was sued by a former personal assistant, Sandra Williams, who claimed wrongful termination, workplace harassment, and emotional distress. Williams alleged that Freeman had created a hostile work environment through inappropriate comments and behavior, seeking $15 million in damages and public vindication. The lawsuit had attracted significant media attention because it involved one of Hollywood's most respected figures and because it reflected broader conversations about workplace behavior and power dynamics in the entertainment industry. Freeman had denied all allegations and expressed confidence that the truth would emerge through proper legal proceedings. Williams's attorneys had specifically requested Judge Judy's show because they believed her reputation for aggressive questioning and skepticism toward celebrity defendants would work in their favor. They expected Judy to treat Freeman like any other entitled celebrity trying to escape consequences for bad behavior. What they hadn't anticipated was that Freeman had agreed to appear on the show not because he was seeking a quick resolution, but because he wanted to address the allegations publicly and demonstrate his confidence in his innocence. His decision to face Judge Judy directly rather than settling quietly had surprised legal experts and entertainment industry observers. The courtroom audience was packed with an unusual mix of legal professionals, entertainment journalists, and Freeman fans who had never watched Judge Judy before, but were drawn by the unprecedented nature of the confrontation. The generational and cultural diversity of the audience reflected Freeman's broad appeal across demographic lines that A.S. Morgan Freeman entered the courtroom that afternoon. He moved with a dignified bearing that had made him a Hollywood icon. Despite his advanced age, he carried himself with quiet confidence and natural authority that immediately commanded respect from everyone present, including production staff who were accustomed to nervous, intimidated guests. Freeman was dressed in a perfectly tailored dark suit that reflected his status as Hollywood royalty, but his demeanor was humble and respectful rather than arrogant or entitled. His presence seemed to elevate the entire proceedings, transforming what was typically a venue for entertainment-based legal drama into something approaching actual judicial dignity. Judge Judy emerged to her usual thunderous applause, but even casual observers noticed that her typical commanding entrance seemed somehow diminished by Freeman's presence. For perhaps the first time in her television career, she was not the most authoritative figure in her own courtroom. Her opening was calculated to establish dominance and diminish Freeman's cultural status, using the psychological tactics that had proven effective against countless celebrities and ordinary defendants over her career. "Mr. Freeman, I want to establish something right away," Judge Judy began, her voice carrying the intimidation that had made her famous. "I don't care if you narrated March of the Penguins, played God in movies, or won every award in Hollywood. In my courtroom, your movie star status means absolutely nothing." The attack was designed to reduce Freeman to just another defendant, while establishing Judge Judy's authority over someone whose cultural status might otherwise overshadow her own. The audience waited for Freeman's response, expecting either defensive stammering or arrogant pushback that would justify Judy's aggressive approach. But when Morgan Freeman opened his mouth to respond, something extraordinary happened that would change the entire dynamic of the proceeding and ultimately Judge Judy's career. "Your Honor," Freeman began, his voice carrying the distinctive tone and cadence that had made him one of the most recognizable speakers in the world. "I deeply respect this court and appreciate the opportunity to address these allegations in a forum where truth can be distinguished from speculation." The simple statement, delivered in Freeman's legendary voice, immediately transformed the atmosphere in the courtroom. The gravity, sincerity, and natural authority in his tone made Judge Judy's aggressive opening seem petty and inappropriate by comparison. Judge Judy attempted to maintain her intimidating approach, but something in Freeman's presence had already begun to undermine her usual tactics. "Mr. Freeman, this isn't a movie set where you can charm your way through problems. These are serious allegations about your behavior toward a female employee." Freeman's response demonstrated the wisdom and thoughtfulness that had made him a respected figure far beyond the entertainment industry. "You're absolutely right, Your Honor. These are serious allegations that deserve serious consideration based on facts and evidence rather than assumptions or preconceptions." His acknowledgement of the gravity of the situation while maintaining his dignity created a stark contrast with Judge Judy's theatrical aggression. The audience began to sense that they were witnessing something different from the typical Judge Judy spectacle. "The plaintiff claims you created a hostile work environment through inappropriate comments and behavior," Judge Judy continued, attempting to regain control through direct accusation. "What's your response to these specific allegations?" Freeman's answer would begin to expose the limitations of Judge Judy's approach when facing someone with genuine wisdom and moral authority. "Your Honor, I believe the evidence will show that these allegations are inconsistent with my character, my values, and the testimony of dozens of colleagues who have worked with me over 5 decades. The response was measured, respectful, and confident without being arrogant. Freeman was addressing the court with the dignity appropriate for serious legal proceedings rather than engaging in the entertainment-focused drama that Judge Judy preferred. Judge Judy attempted to provoke a more defensive reaction through personal attack. "Mr. Freeman, you're 87 years old. Isn't it possible that your behavior toward young women might reflect attitudes from a different era that are no longer acceptable? The question was designed to make Freeman appear outdated and out of touch, while positioning Judge Judy as a champion of modern workplace standards. But Freeman's response would demonstrate the intellectual and moral sophistication that had made him a beloved figure across generations. Your honor, respect for women, and appropriate workplace behavior aren't generational issues. They're fundamental human values that I learned from my mother and have practiced throughout my life and career, Freeman replied with quiet dignity. His answer reframed the conversation from generational conflict to timeless principles while subtly criticizing Judge Judy's assumption that age necessarily correlates with inappropriate behavior. Judge Judy was beginning to realize that her usual intimidation tactics were not only ineffective against Freeman, but were making her appear small and mean-spirited by comparison. She attempted to shift tactics toward aggressive fact-finding. The plaintiff claims you made inappropriate comments about her appearance and created an uncomfortable work environment. Do you deny making any comments about her appearance? Freeman's response would demonstrate the kind of thoughtful honesty that Judge Judy's format rarely accommodated. Your Honor, I may have complimented Ms. Williams's appearance in ways that were intended as kindness, but were interpreted differently than I intended. If my words caused discomfort, I sincerely regret that outcome. The admission was honest and mature, acknowledging potential misunderstanding without accepting guilt for intentional wrongdoing. It demonstrated the kind of nuanced thinking that Judge Judy's black-and-white approach couldn't effectively address. Judge Judy attempted to use his admission as ammunition for further attack. So you admit to making inappropriate comments about a female employee's appearance. How is that acceptable behavior in any workplace? Freeman's response would expose the fundamental flaw in Judge Judy's approach to complex human interactions. Your Honor, with respect, I believe there's a significant difference between inappropriate comments intended to demean or sexualize someone and kind words intended to acknowledge someone's professional presentation that might be misinterpreted. He paused, allowing his words to register before continuing with devastating gentleness. Perhaps the real issue is whether we've created a work environment where any acknowledgement of another person's humanity is automatically viewed with suspicion rather than evaluated based on intent and context. The philosophical depth of Freeman's response highlighted the superficiality of Judge Judy's approach to human behavior and workplace dynamics. He had transformed a potential admission of guilt into a thoughtful commentary on modern workplace communication. Judge Judy was now visibly struggling to maintain her aggressive stance against someone whose responses consistently demonstrated superior wisdom and moral reasoning. Mr. Freeman, you can't philosophize your way out of specific allegations. Did you or did you not create a hostile work environment? Freeman's response would deliver a masterclass in grace under pressure, while exposing Judge Judy's limitations as an arbiter of complex human relationships. Your Honor, I've worked with hundreds of people over my career, including many women in positions of authority and collaboration. I would encourage this court to consider the testimony of those colleagues alongside the allegations of one individual. He then did something that completely changed the proceedings. In fact, I brought written statements from 12 women who have worked with me in various capacities over the past decade, including directors, producers, and personal staff, all volunteering their perspectives on my character and workplace behavior. The introduction of comprehensive character evidence was something Judge Judy's format rarely encountered, and it immediately shifted the burden of proof back to the plaintiff while demonstrating Freeman's confidence in his reputation. Judge Judy attempted to dismiss the evidence through her typical skepticism. Mr. Freeman, of course your friends and colleagues would support you. That doesn't address the specific allegations made by the plaintiff. Freeman's response would demonstrate the strategic thinking that had made him successful in Hollywood's complex professional environment. Your Honor, with respect, these aren't just friends offering casual support. These are professional women in positions of power who have worked directly with me and felt comfortable enough with their experiences to put their reputations behind their statements. He produced a folder containing the testimonials and handed them to Judge Judy. These include directors who controlled my career opportunities, producers who hired me for major projects, and assistants who worked closely with me in private settings. Their consistent testimony about my character and behavior represents a pattern of evidence that contradicts the isolated allegations we're discussing today. Judge Judy glanced at the documents, realizing that Freeman had come prepared with a kind of comprehensive defense that her show's format wasn't designed to handle effectively. Her usual approach of rapid-fire questioning and emotional manipulation was proving ineffective against someone with Freeman's preparation and composure. But Freeman wasn't finished demonstrating the inadequacy of Judge Judy's approach to serious allegations. Your Honor, I'd also like to address the broader question of how we evaluate allegations in the current cultural climate. Judge Judy attempted to cut him off. Mr. Freeman, this court isn't interested in cultural commentary. We're here to determine facts about your specific behavior. Freeman's response would deliver the most devastating critique of Judge Judy's methods while maintaining perfect respect for the proceedings. Your Honor, I believe the cultural context is directly relevant to the facts of this case because it affects how interactions are interpreted and how allegations are evaluated. His voice took on the gravity and wisdom that had made him America's narrator for countless important stories. We live in a time when the important goal of protecting women from genuine harassment has sometimes created an environment where any interaction between men and women in professional settings is viewed through a lens of suspicion rather than evaluated based on actual intent and impact. The statement was profound and demonstrated the kind of nuanced thinking that Judge Judy's format actively discouraged in favor of simple blame assignment and dramatic confrontation. The allegations against me reflect a fundamental misunderstanding about the difference between kindness and harassment, between professional friendliness and inappropriate behavior. Freeman continued, if we can't distinguish between genuine wrongdoing and misinterpreted good intentions, we create a work environment where authentic human connection becomes impossible. Judge Judy was now completely out of her depth, facing philosophical and cultural arguments that transcended her typical focus on legal technicalities and personal responsibility. Freeman had elevated the entire proceeding beyond entertainment into genuine social commentary. Mr. Freeman, Judge Judy said, her voice lacking its usual authority, these are complex issues. But this court needs to focus on the specific allegations rather than broader social questions. Freeman's final response would completely transform the proceeding and leave Judge Judy without an effective counterargument. Your Honor, I understand the court's preference for specificity, but I would suggest that specific allegations can only be properly evaluated within the context of broader understanding about human interaction, professional relationships, and the current cultural moment we're navigating. He paused, allowing his words to register fully before delivering his conclusion. The evidence I've presented demonstrates a consistent pattern of respectful professional behavior spanning decades and involving dozens of women who felt comfortable working with me repeatedly. This pattern provides the context necessary to properly evaluate isolated allegations that may reflect misunderstanding rather than misconduct. The logic was unassailable and the presentation was masterful, combining legal reasoning with moral authority in ways that Judge Judy simply couldn't match or effectively challenge. Judge Judy sat in silence for a moment, realizing that she had been completely outmaneuvered by someone whose wisdom, preparation, and moral authority exceeded her own. For perhaps the first time in her television career, she was facing someone who had transformed her courtroom into a venue for genuine wisdom rather than entertainment-based legal drama. Mr. Freeman, she said quietly. Her tone completely changed from the beginning of the proceeding. Your response has been comprehensive and thoughtful. The transformation in Judge Judy's demeanor was complete and visible to everyone present. Freeman had not only defended himself effectively, but had elevated the entire proceeding while exposing the limitations of Judge Judy's approach to complex human situations. The case concluded with Judge Judy finding in Freeman's favor. But the real victory was the demonstration of how wisdom, dignity, and moral authority could transform even the most hostile environment into an opportunity for genuine understanding and justice. Within hours, clips of Freeman's performance were viral across all platforms, with viewers praising his grace under pressure and his thoughtful approach to serious allegations. Legal experts analyzed his strategic use of character evidence and his ability to reframe hostile questioning into opportunities for principled response. The confrontation became a masterclass in crisis management and public defense, showing how authentic wisdom and moral authority could overcome even the most aggressive interrogation tactics when combined with proper preparation and genuine integrity. Morgan Freeman had demonstrated that true authority comes not from the power to intimidate or humiliate others, but from the wisdom to address serious questions with dignity, honesty, and respect for the complexity of human relationships and social dynamics.